Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I will be reviewing the movie A Quiet Place Part 2. Okay, so A Quiet Place Part 2 is the horror sequel that is directed by John Krasinski. Alright, so to talk about this movie I'm going to be talking about certain plot points and stuff like that, so there will be spoilers, so this is an official spoiler warning. Alright, so A Quiet Place Part 2. The movie starts off with a flashback sequence, which features John Krasinski reprising his role from the first movie. It was really cool. The flashback shows the first day of the invasion, and that was just really interesting to see. It also shows that figuring out that the aliens can't see and that they go by hearing seemed to be a bit of like a hunch that he had, and it turned out to be correct. Of course, like his experiences proved that he was right there. So that was really interesting to see. Alright, so that was the intro, but then the bulk of the movie actually picks up right after the events of the first A Quiet Place film. When I went into this movie, I thought that the mother character, Evelyn, was going to become the main character, but it turned out it was actually the daughter, Reagan, the girl who's deaf. I'm actually really happy they went with this direction because she is a really good main character. She's definitely the most interesting of the human characters they have in the movie right now, like in the series. And it's just really cool to see her in the spotlight. Let's just talk about the horror factor. The suspense in this movie is done so well. I mean, the way they play with their concept of the aliens that can't see and hear, how they have to be careful with their sounds, how they can use like louder sounds to distract them, that kind of thing. They just do a great job with that, and they got tons of those edge of your seat moments, and it's really interesting. Alright, so yeah, the main conflict comes where Reagan, the daughter, is going on a quest to exploit the weakness that they learned at the end of the first movie, and then back at like this hideout they're at, the rest of the family have their own problems they have to deal with. And I just gotta say, like, the scenes where they're fighting the creatures or trying to survive from the creatures, they're done really well. I think the creatures themselves as villains do a phenomenal job. By that I mean the creature designs are really good. You get some really good like up close looks at them in this movie, and that's just really cool to see. They also do a good job of demonstrating their physical abilities, their strength, their speed, and all that. So yeah, the creatures, they do a great job with them in this movie. This movie also explores something they do in a lot of other dystopian works of fiction, like in dystopian futures, and that's the concept of people who kind of like, I guess the best way to describe it is they go Mad Max. I guess a lot of people use that comparison because that's kind of how those movies go. But anyway, what I mean by that is Alright, so basically, some people in this world have stayed relatively more or less the same as they were before. They're still, good people. They're trying to live good lives, take care of their family members, be good people. There's a lot of those characters, but then there's also the other kind, which are these like Mad Max type people. And by that I mean they're people who, in the face of this horrible devastation to the world, they've kind of turned sour, you could say. They started like becoming scavengers. They've started basically they become villains themselves. They don't have any problem stealing from other people. They don't have any problem with hurting other people, all that kind of stuff. And of course, we see this explored in a lot of situations. And by that I mean like in other movies, other TV shows, video games, where that happens, where there's some kind of large scale calamity. And yeah, so they threw that kind of stuff in there, and it was interesting. And it actually led to one of my favorite parts of this movie, which is where our protagonists actually intentionally caused some noise to lure the creatures in to take out these villain humans. And that was just really cool. Aside from that, I just want to talk about a bit of the acting. I think the acting goes really good. They continue on the theme of using American Sign Language to communicate, and it's just really interesting. And in terms of the characters' actions, there's a lot of creativity there. There's a lot of times where they'll do something, you'll be like, oh, they're doing that because of that, and you'll see, like, that's really smart. That's cool they thought of that. But then, of course, there are a lot of times in this movie they'll have the typical horror movie situation of, why did they do that? They shouldn't have done that. That's going to cause this and this to happen. So yeah, you got a good balance there. And I just want to say that this movie overall does a really good job. I mean, I think it's a solid film. It's a great follow-up to the original, and I had a ton of fun with this movie. So yeah, those are my thoughts on A Quiet Place Part 2. Have you seen this film? If you've seen it, let me know what you thought of the movie. Did you think it was a great sequel? Did you think it could have been better? What did you think about A Quiet Place Part 2? Anyway, that's going to be my review for today. I just want to say thank you for checking out the video. Feel free to like and subscribe if you feel like it, and have a wonderful day.